You are listening to Thrival Nutrition Podcast, Episode 4.
Thanks for tuning in to the Thrival Nutrition Podcast with Lahana Vigliano, where she teaches you how to take back your health with real food. Lahana is a holistic nutritionist that holds a degree in nutrition science, and she studies sports nutrition through the International Society of Sports Nutrition. Lahana founded Thrival Nutrition to share her expertise through podcasts, webinars, group plans, ebooks, one-on-one coaching, and more. Here is your host, Lahana Vigliano.
Hi guys, I am so excited to have Viola on the podcast this week. She is a certified executive chef and holistic nutrition educator. She believes in taking the approach of a root cause resolution. So you aren't just putting a band-aid on symptoms, but you're finding the root cause of what's going on in your body so you can begin your journey to healing. So we share the same passion and mindset, and I can't wait to dive into one of my favorite topics with her, so you guys are in for a real treat. Let's hop over and chat with Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Thank you so much for coming on the show this week.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk with everybody today.
Yes, and we are talking about one of my favorite topics in alternative health, so I am ready to start.
All right, let's get started.
Let our listeners know who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm Dawn Viola. I am a certified executive chef and holistic nutrition expert, and with my particular practice, I work really closely with people who have autoimmune disease, food allergies. I help them get back on a path to wellness through cooking and holistic nutrition coaching. So as a chef, I'm able to show them how to incorporate the foods that maybe their doctor are telling them that they should be eating, or especially for somebody with food allergies, it's extremely overwhelming to have to change your diet. And I mean, just for anyone having to make changes, it's overwhelming, but especially for food allergies, because there's usually so much that has to be removed all at once. So I just help folks kind of get back to center and not feel so overwhelmed, and show them easy steps and ways that they can do that.
Awesome. That is so needed, because especially like you said, with any food allergies, people are like, oh my gosh, for example, celiac disease. Oh my gosh, I can't have any bread. What do I eat in lieu of bread, and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. Would love to dive into autoimmune diseases and the causes of them with you, because I know you are like me and have that mindset of actually finding the root cause and helping that aid to like your healing. So I love the whole body approach with health. Leaky gut is one of the huge problems in this country, and the link of it to autoimmune conditions. And it's not talked about too much in Western medicine, unfortunately. Can you tell us what leaky gut is?
Yeah, absolutely. So leaky gut it's also known as intestinal permeability, or you might also hear it called intestinal hyperpermeability. And that is when your small intestine lining, which has villi, and it's the barrier between your digestion in the small intestine and then also the rest of your body. So when that lining gets damaged, and usually it's from inflammation, and we'll talk about how that inflammation starts. The tight knit doors get inflamed. They start to kind of get out of shape and spread apart. And when that happens, food particles that are going through the normal digestive process in your small intestine leak through those holes, through those doors that would normally be really, really tight, and prevent toxins from getting into your bloodstream. Those are open, and then food particles and toxins and yeasts and other things that would normally go through the normal digestion process leak into your body. They end up in all different places, and it really depends on the person, but in everybody that causes inflammation. And that is where, depending on where the inflammation is happening, or where that toxin or where that food particle ended up in your body, that can manifest itself over time. Like if this is chronic, it can manifest itself into myriad autoimmune diseases. I think now there's over 100 that have been identified as autoimmune disease. So it's pretty incredible. And it's also frustrating as a holistic nutritionist, or someone that's studying or works in the holistic side of things. Conventional medicine doesn't always recognize this as something that's really happening. So if you're going to a typical doctor that has learned and studied conventional medicine, they might not be looking for this as a root cause to whatever is making you not feel your best.
Yes. What causes leaky gut?
So leaky gut happens for a variety of reasons, and it really comes down to, again, inflammation, things that are inflammatory to your body. So it can be something as simple as taking Advil or Tylenol or cold medications or any over-the-counter medication, that you could just pick up at a drugstore. Over time, if you're taking it on a regular basis, that can be very irritating to all parts of your body, but especially your digestive system. And that can cause inflammation once it gets into the stomach and into the lower intestine. And even though, something like Advil is an anti-inflammatory, it actually, over time, if it's used on a regular basis, and I think it's safe to say that no one out there really takes the recommended dose of one Advil. So when you're taking over the recommended amount and adding that to your body, it really causes a lot of trouble for you that you may not feel, like you may not associate with Advil, but something might be, you might have a stomach ache or you just might feel off, and it has to do with the Advil, but you never really associate it with that. Yeah. So there's other things too. There's food sensitivities. There's stress that can cause leaky gut, depression, other digestive issues, if you have weight problems, if you don't get enough sleep. So it's so many different things, and I think that's why it might be difficult for conventional medicine to diagnose that or recognize that it could be leaky gut.
Yeah, it really is. And it's so interesting because you think, oh, leaky gut, probably just digestive issues, bloating and cramping and nausea, things like that. But leaky gut can show through eczema, any skin inflammations. It can show through headaches. So what we may think is like normal might be happening because of leaky gut, and we don't understand that association, that everything is so linked together.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it's so important for folks that are listening to really be thoughtful about the medical professionals that they bring into their lives. If you're not working with a holistic medical practitioner or a functional medical doctor, they may not be looking at the root cause of why you're not feeling well, or why you might be having irritable bowel syndrome, or why you might have eczema, or any way that it's manifesting itself through your skin or otherwise. Conventional medicine might not be looking at those things. They're going to be looking at, how do I make this person better with medicine, rather than just figuring out why is it happening in the first place.
Yes. Eczema is one of my biggest pet peeves, is because, people wonder, what is going on with my skin? Let me go get checked out. And then they will just prescribe creams to put on it. And I'm like, no, that's not solving the problem of what's actually causing the eczema. And I've seen way too many cases to see that. Eczema is totally linked to leaky gut. And it's just a reaction of inflammation in your body. Something's up, and then your skin's just acting out and it's being inflamed. So eczema is definitely one of the ones that when I hear, I'm like, get checked for leaky gut by a functional medicine doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Usually when I work with clients, they are already working with a doctor.
Okay.
And I'm getting the information from the doctor and then become an integral part of that.
Okay, cool. How are autoimmune conditions linked to leaky gut? Is this just because pretty much the gut is open?
Yeah, so autoimmune disease itself has been linked to leaky gut because, like I said earlier, when those toxins and those particles get into your bloodstream, your body is doing its job and it kind of goes on an all-out war. They see these particles as foreign objects and toxins that shouldn't be in there. And your white blood cells go into action, your immune system goes into action, and your body starts attacking these. And that in itself is not only an energy expenditure on your part internally, but your body basically remembers what those cells are made of, what those toxins were made of, yes, and what it attacked. And so when you eat a food that might be similar, your body is going to recognize that and remember, hey, that was floating around in the bloodstream earlier, and we don't want that in the body. So we're going to attack it. So that's kind of how like celiac disease works, and a few other autoimmune diseases. It also comes down to your weak link, whether that's genetics or an area in your body that may have been injured. That can also be the source of where that autoimmune disease develops. Let's say you were in a car accident and you have soft tissue damage someplace in your body, and you're eating a diet that is very pro-inflammatory, and you have leaky gut and you've got toxins and particles leaking, plus you're having a lot of industrial oils like vegetable oils and things like that in your diet, and it's bombarding from like all areas. There's a really good chance that something is going to attach itself to that weak area of your body, and it could be cancer, it could be skin condition in that area. So it's hard to say because, again, a lot of it has to do with genetics as well, and where that weak link in your body might be. Really, the best thing to do is to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and avoid processed foods. And, I always say that the solution to good health is so simple. It's not always easy, but it's so simple. And it really just comes down to changing the foods that you eat.
Yeah, I always say a healthy gut is a healthy human, because ultimately 80% of our immune system's in our gut. So it's very, very important to take care of our gut. And one of those things, like you said, is obviously linked to nutrition. And as simple as it sounds, just saying, just eat real food. In this society and big food companies, it's so hard to really go back to just food. We're so used to the processed food. Sometimes when people are like, for bread, for example, what can I have besides bread? Like, how do I make sandwiches? And our thinking is just so different because we're accustomed to these processed foods.
Yeah, and that's a big part of working with clients, and is it changing their mindset and getting them to change the way that they think about food. And I think that's the hardest part, because so much of what we eat is based on culture, what we grew up eating as kids, marketing and peer pressure. And so it's really tough to change your thinking about food. And I think that's one of the things that, just working with clients, that I see clients struggling with the most. And even with me, I mean, the whole reason that I got into this profession was because I have food allergies. And even for me, knowing as much as I know about nutrition and cooking and whatnot, the hardest part for me has been separating the food from the memory that goes with that food. What really helped me, and it sounds so simple, but it's simple, but it's not easy, is just constantly asking myself why. Why do I want to eat that? Why do I think that I need that food? So, and just asking myself why all the time, and really getting down, like having a really deep conversation with myself internally, I have been able to change my mindset about how I feel about whole grains, how I feel about birthday cake, how I feel about fast food and foods in the grocery store that I used to buy. And I actually don't enjoy going grocery shopping anymore because I get so frustrated at the checkout because I see all the junk that people are putting in their cart. And I have to restrain myself from saying anything to the mom that's got, like 5 boxes of cereal.
One thing that I found that this is actually kind of sad, but one thing that I found when sometimes I kind of forget the foundation of why I eat healthy and why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I mean, obviously we're surrounded by like the fast food and all this junk, and I will watch a movie on Netflix or something, and it will be about someone having cancer and dying, or some like a really sad movie, and as sad as it is, it really brings me back to, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I'm teaching people. I don't want people to have to go through this sad situation of losing their dad, losing their mom to cancer. And it really brings me back down to the reality of like, all right, this is why I eat healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. It just comes down to education and, in terms of teaching people about nutrition and why it's important. And I think a lot of the media kind of pummels people with, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, but they don't really explain why or how.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part that's missing. So if more people had the really deep why and then how to implement, I think that would help people a lot more.
Yeah, and when I go with clients, I always have education sessions with them. And while it may seem like they're like, I'm not in nutrition school, why am I learning this? When we know as much as we do, it holds us accountable to sticking to it. And ultimately, I don't think anyone just wants to have a nutritionist by their side their whole life, but to be able to, by the time the plan ends, they'll be so confident and they'll know, and they'll just be so much more educated on what to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's about empowering people with information.
What are some foods that will help seal your gut if you have leaky gut?
There are some very soothing foods and supplements and whatnot, and it's actually going to be different for everyone. I think across the board, most holistic practitioners will tell you that marshmallow root and licorice and things like that will be very soothing to your digestive system. Anything that's going to be like chia seeds or anything that's got, like that mucousy gel, that's going to be soothing. However, you have to really be in tune with your body and know your sensitivity. So like for me, I can't have licorice because it's something that I'm allergic to. So if I put that through my system, it would be not very soothing. Yeah. So it's a matter of doing some research online and getting familiar with the whole group of those foods and then determining what would be best for you based on your sensitivities and allergies if you have any. But I think overall, just stopping the processed foods and focusing on whole foods that you cook from scratch and you're thoughtful about your food choices.
Yes.
Changing the fats that you eat from those industrial oils that I mentioned earlier. So the high omega-6 oils like vegetable oil, canola, peanut oil, those are all oxidized before you even buy them. And then when you add heat to them after that, it becomes even more oxidized. So if you're not eating fruits and vegetables, there's nothing to get rid of that oxidation in your body. So gosh, we could put everybody on an anti-inflammatory diet. I think that the whole world would be very happy.
Yeah, my favorite foods for leaky gut are bone broth, of course, just tons of homemade bone broth, not the broth you buy at the stores, but homemade bone broth, aloe vera, fermented vegetables for sure.
Yeah, and you just named 3 different foods two, I should say, that, they've got the gelatin in the broth, and so that's going to be very soothing.
Yeah, I love that. But it's ultimately just eat real food.
Yeah.
You'll be better, you'll feel better, and we'll just be able to live optimally. We'll actually be able to do things, enjoy the life that we do have because we feel so good.
Exactly. And food is tied to your mood, and so definitely that will tie into it. And this is also going to change your gut flora. And you mentioned fermented foods, and that's part of the reason why fermented foods are going to help you if you have a leaky gut, because they're going to rebuild that good gut flora, which is going to in turn start to help regulate your hormones again and lower inflammation and just get your body systems working the way that they should.
Yeah, absolutely. Dawn, thank you so much for coming on. This has been so fun.
Thank you.
Let our listeners know where they can find you.
Sure. So I'm all over. So anywhere you go, you're going to bump into me, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Pinterest or YouTube or Instagram. So all of my social media is under This Honest Food. So it's THIS, Honest Food. And then my website is thishonestfood.com.
I will definitely add those in the show notes too.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on again. Leaky gut is definitely one of my favorite topics to talk about because it's not talked about too often in Western medicine. So I'm so glad I had Dawn on this week to talk to you about it. You can find her at www.thishonestfood.com and find her on all social media sites. I will link her in the show notes, and you can find me, of course, at www.thrivalnutrition.com and also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter under @thrival_Orlando. Please feel free to contact us under the Contact Us tab on our website. We would love to work with you on one-on-one consultations and group program. Thanks again for tuning in this week. I will see you next week.